Hey. Welcome to the Indigenous Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today I have Stephine Poston with me. She's the owner of Poston, what is it? Poston and Associates LLC. Yes. Thank you so much for being here with me, Stephine, and I'm just excited to hear your story. If I could just have you introduce yourself first, and then we'll get into our discussion.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me. The daikon biana the bachuim, heiku and the daikowim, shooting inkeawim. My name is Steph Poston, and I'm from the Pueblo of Sandia. I am the CEO and owner of Poston and Associates, which now in May has turned 22 years old full time. It's a public relations and marketing company specializing in Indigenous strategies to lift Indigenous voices, Indigenous community voices. Right now, currently working on some public relations for an upcoming Pueblo convocation that's going to be held at the Tamaya. Also do the 988 campaign. It's the behavioral health number for people to call in. We've created all the content for that and all the marketing material and assets for that. So lots of PR, marketing, strategic planning, event planning, if I had to kind of summarize it.
Thank you. I think my first question is, what got you started? Like, did you always want to be a business owner, entrepreneur? Can you just kind of walk us through the story of how Poston and Associates got started 22 years ago?
Right. So actually, I was working for my tribe and came across a colleague. He was doing a campaign, a political campaign, but he was also like he was a job developer with the state of New Mexico. And I was like, what is that about? And he goes, it's really fun. You would be good at it. You might consider doing that part-time as you work full-time. I was like, can I do it? How do I do it? Um, so he's like, all you need is a business card. You get your business registered. And prior to that, some folks that I went to the University of New Mexico with, they were already in business, or they were at the All Indian Pueblo Council back then in their economic development. So every time I went over there on work for my tribe, my friends there would say, "When are you starting your business, Poston?" Um, it went right over my head. I was like fine working for somebody else. I didn't even know what step one was. It just seemed so far-fetched and outrageous. Like, and too much, too much. Even though I was working hard, it felt like a lot of the cumbersome steps that I wasn't familiar with. Um, so I had that, people in the background telling me that. But so then in May of 2004, I just went full on. I said, I'm gonna do this. My two first clients was Dave Melton, who owns Sacred Power, a solar power company, and Ada Melton. She's at the Indian Pueblo Culture Center. She hired me to do some public relations media training. And then I just never looked back. Like I had my card, I registered as an LLC, I did all the steps to get a EIN number, all the proper numbers from the state of New Mexico, and I just kept connecting with people. And the word of mouth got out. And even though I'm in public relations and marketing, most of my work has come through word of mouth and repeat business. So I've been really fortunate that way and blessed.
That's awesome. That must mean you're really good at your job if people keep referring people to you.
Yeah, no, I really have been, and it's evolved, right? So I started as a job developer, even though at my tribe I was a director of health, safety, and education. I did public relations, so I learned a lot working for my tribe, and I'm really thankful for that opportunity. Um, so as I work for tribes, I can speak to um, language preservation, education, healthcare, safety, law enforcement, tribal court. So because I learned so much of that while I worked for my tribe. So I'm able to help tribes and facilitate meetings because I understand it from the ground up.
That's a really unique and important skill to have.
Mhm.
I'm wondering if you can just kind of share more about the process of starting your business. Like you mentioned, you filed for an LLC, you got your EIN number. Was it straightforward, or did you kind of come across some challenges where you're like, what do I do? And how did you navigate that?
Well, we're fortunate and there's more here now. Like I could talk to my colleagues over at the All India Public Council who are working on encouraging people to be entrepreneurs. I think I learned a little bit through West. I learned other people who had started their business. How do you go about it? So any program I saw, I would sign up for it. And I think back in the day, there was like Onabin would come through Albuquerque and tell you the steps. I don't know if they had funding or whatever, but I attended um, a gathering in Albuquerque, and they were giving you the step-by-step process on how to go about it. So every time I like would look around or see opportunity, I just put myself out there and attended the trainings. But I feel like it's more abundant now.
I'm wondering if you could share maybe like one of the biggest challenges that you've faced as a entrepreneur, but then also like one of the biggest blessings, just to kind of show that the two sides of the coin, maybe.
I think it's like I'm a really good connector because I'm out in community all the time. And so w the way that I grew my business is like, okay, I can't do this all by myself. Like I have to have like a dugout of graphic designers, of researchers, of project managers, of event planners, of this like dugout of contractors that I can count on, right? And I think the biggest challenge for me is I'm very um when somebody has a faith in me to hire me, I really, you want to deliver with excellence. And if you say you're going to do something, you want to do it and do it to the best of your ability. So it's like taking a deep breath and trusting the people around you, right? And making sure, I mean, a lot of times I hire other Native women as contractors and I try and really like think about how can I make their experience and them feel good about the experience in working with Poston and Associates. So I'm thought, and I've made mistakes too. But I think I try and give that a lot of thought. And a lot of times it's other single mothers who have maybe a primary job but need some supplemental income. So there's a lot of juggling, and I just have to trust like they know their availability, their bandwidth to juggle and deliver as well. And then like jump in and support when I can.
I think it's amazing that you not only created a job for yourself, but you're creating jobs for other people. And that's like one of the reasons why we really support entrepreneurship at UNM Rainforest Innovations is because we see the impact that it can make when companies are started from the ground up and grown in the place where they're started. Um, I'm wondering if you can share if maybe you've seen any effects on your community or how entrepreneurship has affected your life, in a positive way or however it has affected you.
The 22 years it's felt like five. And when I list out like when I have to put proposals together and give examples of my work, I'm like so humbled by the projects I have been a part of, and that people trusted me with the work. Like I'm just like blown away. Um, and when I think of it as a collective, it's pretty satisfying. And that's why like getting up every day, like I really am excited every day to get up and go to work. I'm excited. Like to balance out it all out, I have to like constantly like do reflections. During pandemic, there's a big thing that I learned about myself. I learned that I'm most productive during the hours of like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to like 3. If I need to do more critical thinking, it's really hard. And so some of my contractors there, they start their day late. And so just to make adjustments for that, but it's after 3, it's really hard for me to do the hard work. I'll have a meeting, but that was a big noticing for me because I was just exhausted because you go down rabbit holes and you're just spinning your wheels. And I'm like, I really stopped being productive at 3. Just stop and just kind of self-regulate and know your strengths, your boundaries. And I'm totally fine because I have some people from the East Coast that I work with. Like I will take a 6 a.m. call. And then I get those calls out of the way so I can move about my day freely. And I'm not like, if I'm at a different tribal community, I'm not worried about, do I have Wi-Fi to make my 2 o'clock Zoom? Will it be quiet? Will I find a quiet location? Um, all the things like my meetings are done in the morning. I can thoroughly engage throughout the day without worrying that I'm going to miss a call.
So you've kind of found that balance and what works best for you. And it's nice that you have that flexibility to kind of make your schedule to a certain extent. Um,
Yeah, and I know so it's not always like that. And I really try to figure out um, like last year, I can pinpoint May and September of 2025. It was just back to back, just Zoom after Zoom. And that was really exhausting. But I also know it's not like that forever. But it's just like that sometimes. And we'll get over that hump and I'll get back into more of a flow.
what are some of the goals that you have for yourself and your business, just going forward?
The work that I have currently am blessed with, it's really exciting. So I want to get those done in a like with excellence, and they can really move the needle um, in certain ways. So just like showing up, like when I show up, I want to show up my whole self, like fully present and hear and engage and be thoughtful. Um, and believe it or not, tried to guard my peace um, because it's just we can easily get pulled into the chaos, but like we always have um, the ability to take some deep breaths, step back, and really pause. We don't have to engage in the chaos. So the big goals, I mean, it really is just like peace in so many ways, right? Our world is a little bit interesting, so we have to really seek out peace and seek out those joyous moments.
It sounds like you've really learned how to balance things with like entrepreneurship and then like mental health and like just taking care of yourself. Um, I'm wondering because a lot of entrepreneurs talk to me about how it's really hard to find that balance. And sometimes entrepreneurship really does take a toll on them mentally, emotionally, physically. I don't know if you have any from your own experience, just advice or how you've been able to kind of keep your pace and find that balance.
I think it's finding surrounding yourself with really good people that you can count on to like for me, I mean, it took me a while, but working with my accountant, I don't even know how to put it, but he would say, can you find somebody to do that for you? Because that's not the best use of your time and being okay with that. Um, and to find somebody that can anticipate is a real skill. So I don't have to keep coming back to it, like, and a self-starter. And I've had some really good people help me along the way that have been a contractor and become sisters and become great friends. I mean, I could just count on them. And when you can count on them, you can focus on your zone of genius, if you will. And you like if you're the planner, but you also got to facilitate and teach, like you have somebody in the background taking care of the catering. Um, are the presenters going to show up? Is there audio visual? And you could just focus on making sure the participants feel welcome and you can concentrate if you have to deliver a presentation. So it's just like really finding good people. And for me, it was like one of the biggest challenges is like I feel like there's a lot of opportunity for startups, but there's not a lot of resources for established businesses. It's almost like, oh, they've got it. They're fine. They've been in business. And I always say new level, new devil. As like this goes wrong, that goes wrong. Um, how do you deal with a difficult contractor? How do you, um, you got to get those the forms out to your contractors, making sure, and just hiring the right CPA and a bookkeeper. I mean, that's not, I don't always enjoy that task. So once I um, hired a CPA, it just made my life so much easier. All the reporting's done, and I'm just one less worry, and I just meet with them once a month.
That's really good insight of asking for help. And then also what you said about there not being as much support for established businesses. I've definitely noticed that. And with the program that I was managing for 3 years, we did a lot of discovery work. And that was one of the discoveries is that there's a lot of help for businesses that are just starting. But once a business is established and they want to scale, there's
Mhm.
not really a support program or there's not as much for them. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if, in your experience, if you have any recommendations of what like support organizations could do to kind of help fill that barrier, or if there's anything that the state could do. I just love to hear your insight.
Yeah, one of the things that I wanted to do is, I myself have um, went through a program called transformational coaching, not because I wanted to become a coach, but because in my strategic planning, I wanted to ask better questions. But then that's when I really got exposed to, oh, that's what coaches are. But like to get in there and really um, shift some mindsets, it takes an investment and there's a coach for everything. And I've invested in my on my own because I needed it. Um, but these longer term programs are costly. And so to like provide resources or tap into these like really these top-notch coaches who are do a good job at just when you can go one-on-one with them and um, tell them the challenge and then help you walk through it one-on-one and that high level assistance is can be so helpful because it's kind of lonely. There's not a lot of people I can talk to.
That's really good advice, and that's something I'm going to take note of as we like continue to brainstorm like future programming. That's definitely been actually an idea that's come up as like recommendations is more like one-on-one mentoring or coaching that's not just like attending a one-time appointment. It's like an actual relationship.
Mhm.
So that's good to know.
I had a
Um,
score mentor. I used them a lot. Um, right, but it's a different situation when you're actually invested in uh, an executive coach.
are there
And that you can always change too. Like some people feel like, oh, initially it might be a good fit, but then it's not. You can always change.
That's good to know. I
Yeah.
think sometimes people are afraid to change if they've invested in something. Um, but it's good. to know and to have that mindset of you can always make a change if you need to.
Hmm. Hmm.
You mentioned a few resources that you tapped into as you were building your business. I think you said West, Score, and a few others. Are there any other resource providers or programs that really helped you as you were building your business that other people could tap into?
The SBA used to offer this the E200 or something like that, and they rebranded it, and it was Marvis Aragon who taught that. So I was in that cohort. It was I might have been like 3 or 4 months long, and that was good too. And then just not being afraid to like talk to people. And then also because of our the challenges that we face, I'm also one of the co-founders of Native Women Lead and trying to close, encouraging Native women to start a business is a way to close a wealth gap. So, we try to the whole thing was to offer like how do we provide resources? How do we be a sounding board? Um, yeah.
Can you share a little bit more about Native Women Lead? And because I know you're one of the founders of that.
Yeah. Yeah, there was several of us who were invited out to a women's global conference out at Mesa del Sol. And so a lot of us, I mean, we were busy and we took the time and, we were all ready to be on the panel. But when we got there, we were in the corner, clearly an afterthought, and nobody came to our panel. So we're like, okay, we're just going to start our own. So one of the first gatherings we had with the community is saying like we have these like cafe style input, like what would you want to learn about? And from there, launch the first Native Women Lead event or convening gathering at the Indian Pueblo Culture Center. I believe it was like March of 2018. And I think 3 weeks out, I we I mean, all the co-founders are very well connected. They're very good at curating safe spaces very thoughtfully. So we had some amazing presenters, and one of the big things that we had was childcare for the women. And that was a game changer. So 3 weeks out, we had room for 150. I think we had like 30 tickets sold. I mean, it was minimal because we wanted it to be accessible. And to being sold out, and there was a line out the door for people wanting to come in. Yeah, it was amazing. It was a magical moment for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, I think one of my last questions is if you have any advice or like words of wisdom that you'd like to share with entrepreneurs, or someone who maybe they've started their business or they're thinking of starting, what would you tell them?
Do some soul searching and really think, what do you want to do? How do you want, what brings you joy? Because when you start from a fresh canvas, you could really um, be creative and design it, and then it doesn't even feel like work. Know your worth. Don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions and manage expectations. Yep, and you belong at the table.
Yeah, I love that. And I did enjoy the most recent Native Women Lead event that I attended. And
Oh, great.
I definitely see like what you're saying about like the intentional curation and just creating that
Right.
space for Native women to engage with one another and thrive. So I definitely want to commend you, not just for starting your own business, but for being a part of starting that organization that really is impacting a lot of women's lives.
Oh, good. Good. Yeah, I was able to go to a part of that, but um everybody seems to have had a good experience, so that's great.
Are there any last things that you'd like to share while we're on here? Anything that you didn't get to share that maybe you want to?
No, um I do have two older sons. I have a 30-year-old and a 25-year-old son, and I got a really amazing bouquet of flowers from my oldest son's boss, thanking me for raising a good son. Wasn't that like next level for
That's
the employer?
amazing. Oh my gosh.
It was
What a
like,
compliment.
right? Yeah, I mean, none of us are perfect, right? We all could do some adjusting, but I mean, that just made my heart so happy.
Yeah.
Like above a business, above any of that, you just hope that your children are happy and healthy and doing something they enjoy.
Yeah. Now I have another question for you. What
Mhm.
was that being a mom and then being a business owner? How did you
I
navigate?
had a great support system. I had my mom and my sister. That that safety net was massive, massive, and I needed it. So I am forever thankful for that support that I got. So
That's
I could just be moving, I could be in Santa Fe, I could be traveling, and I knew that my boys were safe and secure, well fed and loved.
That's awesome. Yeah, that support system's super important. And I've heard you multiple times speak about your different support systems that you have, your family, but then also like different colleagues who are sounding boards and contractors and all of that. So
Mhm.
I think it's clear that um, entrepreneurship maybe sometimes feels lonely, but you can't do it alone. Like you need to lean on other people.
No, and a lot like having some faith, like that your ancestors have your back. Like, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, taking time out of your day to spend this time with me, sharing your story. I really appreciate it, and I know
Absolutely.
that a lot of people are going to appreciate your words and your wisdom and you sharing your experience. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I wish you well. And yeah, anytime to if there's a way to make it the path easier, or share knowledge that sheds light on something, I'm all for it.
Thank you.
Yep.